evening and welcome to What's in the Gallery Hall, and this edition is called Points of View. My name is Stacy Pappas and I'll be your host, and we're sitting today with Jamie Kelly and Bill Kelly, father and daughter, and two of the artists that will be showing in the next gallery exhibit that we'll be having here at 285 Derby Street at Salem Access Television. Every 2 months we have a revolving art show, and this month we have Art Salem that's been showing, and the upcoming show will be called Points of View. It's all about life, politics, and satire with some of the photographs and other media of art that you can see behind us on the set, or that you'll be seeing in just a moment. And the show will open on Thursday, September 26th. From 5 to 8, there's a public opening, and anyone that is viewing the show right now or when it's showing over the next few weeks on Salem Access Television you're all invited to show up at the opening and see the works and meet the artist. And also during the 2 months the show will be hanging until November 15th. The gallery, whenever the Salem Access Television Gallery is open, that means that the gallery is open for people to come in and view the artwork, and we welcome every viewer to please come in and see the studio and see what everything is all about. And maybe you'll meet one of the artists when you pop in, either the night of the opening or sometime after that. So again, it's Thursday, September 26th, and let's meet the artists. First we have Jamie Kelly, and welcome to What's in the Gallery Hall.
Thank you.
And Bill Kelly. First, we can talk to Jamie about some of the works that we see hanging up on the back of the wall here, the cutout figures that have some lettering on them. And one of the cameras will be picking that up so we can see what they're all about. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about them, and or a little bit about your background if you'd like to talk about what you've been doing as far as artwork is concerned first, and get into the drawings.
Well, we can just go straight to the figures. Sure. They actually have a bit of a history. It goes back to, I believe, about 8th grade or so. We have a little photo here we can pull out. I had a biology project to do. It was all about the human body and anatomy. Mm-hmm. And so we cut out, I laid on a big piece of white paper and we cut out my figure. And, of course, the project was over and done with, and we had this figure lying around the house, and my father started just kind of poking around with it, having fun with it, and taking pictures, playing with shadows and what have you. And this is one of the very first pieces, one of the very first,
first photos that you've done, Bill.
Bits of play that.
Of this series.
Mm-hmm. There's an interesting play on the shadows that you can see if one of the cameras can pick that up. And is that you in the photo?
Yes,
Jamie?
it is, yeah.
Okay. So we have the cutout figure. Is that the actual cutout figure?
That is the actual, that's the original.
That's the original.
The original.
So that's the model. That's
from
wonderful.
Whence came many, many more through the years.
And something that we can see that Bill's incorporated into his work as well. And you're a poet, I see. You have some commentaries here too on the figures. So these figures evolved from this model,
right? And essentially, the history is sort of like this. We had this figure lying around, and my father started playing with it and taking photos with it. And then recently, I've reclaimed them as my own, taken them back, right? And applied. I like to play with words, and I like poems. That's I guess what I would consider my art. And in light of my dad's new career in politics, I was just sort of poking fun at him and political institution and what have you.
Right.
So, yeah.
So that's what we have, so our viewers could come and read the commentaries and see the figures for themselves, and as well as seeing them on the screen. They always look a little bit different, I think, when you see things on a television screen than they do when you see them in person.
In real life.
And I see that some of these figures you can, in the photographs that are behind Jamie, and there's one over here behind Bill, but we'll start with this one right here. There's one of the figures. Do you actually cut these figures out for your dad to use in the photos, or do you, Bill, cut out the figures yourself and then use them?
Well, actually, Jamie and I, this was, as we said in the beginning, this was a team project. And
Collaborative effort.
yeah, it's a collaborative effort. And all of these are actually Jamie's shape and size. They came from the original. But this one in life, this first one right there directly behind Jamie, that actually was a collaboration between Jamie and I. One day we were at Boston College. Jamie was going to school. And we were just talking, having coffee and hanging around. And she said, life, get a life in a folder. So that led me to take out life, the symbol, the word life, and the folder.
Which is
and
what
the
is within that particular cutout, right? It's not, it's from where I'm sitting, you'd have to get up a little closer to actually see that.
Yes,
So that's the title of the piece?
Yeah, life.
Okay,
That's called life. So if you don't have a life, you go to a folder, the one
Right.
marked life.
And get one.
And get one. Find a life there.
I think we were discussing, oh, what am I going to do, and what am I going to be when I grow up, kind of thing. And I'll go find some
Boy, if it
file
were
and
that
just
easy, right?
take.
Pick out the life.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
there you
Okay, here's
go.
my life.
And this evolved. This is my newest project. It has been for about 5 years now, off and on. I have about 3 different areas of study I'm always working on. In the event that I don't feel aggressive, or if I want to go out towards a more quiet scene. But this is one of the fields that I'm working in, and I can't get people to model for me anymore. Everyone goes into hiding when I come out with my cameras, especially my family. They all leave. You want to break up a party, just show up with
Bring
your
out with
camera.
the- bring the
So
camera.
this is how it sort of came about, and I try not to be seen too often by the general public carrying these things around. In that little puppet on a string sort of came later. This is after about the 3rd year of photographing cutouts. This one came about, so that there's a whole story behind the puppet on a string too. It's all sort of faceless and nameless and lacking identity. When you're reaching for a life, when you're trying to find a life and you have to reach to a folder marked life, then obviously the identity crisis is very apparent. So that some of the thinking behind this, but it's up to the viewer. The viewers, I think the viewer brings to the work whatever they have themselves,
An interpretation.
and their own emotional and intellectual response is fine with me. It isn't necessary that they know what I was thinking. If someone enjoys it, that's enough.
I'm curious to know how you got that light behind the figure that's within that block, within this, it looks like a wall, or is it it's carpet of some sort?
No, actually, it's a wall.
It is a wall.
Shetland property.
Ah, okay.
It's down at Shetland property. They sprayed the old brick Pequot mill siding with a white, very stucco-like material. And it's a very textured, nice textured surface. That's what drew me there. Of course, the contrast between the hot top and the white, but the textured surface is a
So
nice
that's
play.
actually where the building meets the hot top. It's
Yes.
it's pretty,
Yep.
very vivid. It takes on a different quality with the light, the way. But I'm wondering, do you develop your own?
Oh, yes.
You do.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
In black and white, you have to. I have never found a lab, even the custom labs in Boston. I was a corporate photographer for years, and under duress, I would send my negatives and have enlargements made for processing. But I never found, even with very specific, succinct instructions, it wasn't the way I would have printed it. And no two photographers print the same way. So I do my own, especially if I'm shooting for myself.
that has to be an integral part to your
Very.
what it is that you're trying to
Very.
achieve from your
Uh-huh.
photograph.
Exactly. From the scene, I know exactly what I want to put into the negative in order to get the final print to look the way I interpret it.
Did you have to manipulate that very much to get that light? It's got a real quality to it.
Striking.
It is.
You have to take my course to
That
understand
was
that.
your secret. We talked a little about that
Yeah.
before. That was your secret, wasn't it?
The-
Okay, I'm
the
trying to
light-
draw
see,
that
the light
secret out.
behind the
I-
light-
Smoke and mirrors,
Yeah, there was a lot of smoking, smoking guns and things in the show.
Right.
But yeah, the light behind the puppet is You just have to take my course to
Okay.
fully appreciate
Okay.
that.
And the next work to my right is a little. Does that have a title? There weren't any titles. I would
Well,
have referred to it as a title, but we can go by what
The
you're.
goldfish.
The goldfish.
The goldfish in the, I don't know if that's a decanter of sorts, brandy snifter or something. A lot of brandy. However, if I was going to call it anything, I've amused myself with the title Carnival Goldfish, because when you win a goldfish at the carnival,
Get
you
it
bring
in
it
that
home
little bag.
in a bag. You bring it
Yeah.
home for a few days and it dies.
Yeah.
Of course, I brought that goldfish home, and after being in the hot studio lighting, it survived.
Oh,
It
good.
survived.
We're glad to know that it survived.
It
Okay.
survived
I
the
feel
studio
better.
lighting, but it was fun to do. Actually, the entire purpose of that photograph was to sharpen my lighting technique at the time. That was that was quite a number of years ago, actually, quite some time ago.
A good long time
And
ago.
you're always trying to improve your techniques, whether it's camera negative technique, processing techniques, printing techniques, lighting it. In black and white photography, light is everything. Light affects our mood in black and white photography as light affects our mood when we go out in the morning. If it's misty or drizzling, if it has been for 5 days, we're
True.
down. If it's
Right.
bright and sunny after 7 days of overcast, we're up. And so the light in black and white photography is a crucial part of the dynamics. And that's the meaning. That was the whole intent behind that photograph. Yeah, there was an exercise.
It's wonderful. It's got a great clarity to it, and
Thank
the
you.
distinct base, the blackness of that, and then as it goes up to the light coming through the water and the goldfish, it's got a statement, it makes a statement.
Thanks.
I think it's great. And then we see another little influence here of Jamie's work again behind you with the window and the figure and the hand, and it's there was a message on that.
Yes, admit one.
Admit one.
Yeah,
There's a
and
ticket there, right?
And there are 2 cutouts.
And this is the Shetland wall again? Is
No.
it? No, that's something
This
different.
is another wall with that light. That's a window, that's sunlight reflecting off of a window onto a wall. So it's all a reflection. It's a reflection of a window. It's not the window. The cutouts are a reflection of a human form. It's not the human. But the butt of the joke here is political. That's the title of that is political fundraiser, because you see there are 2 cutouts handing the ticket to a hand. It's in the reflection of the light, and it says admit one.
Admit one.
So there's a little play there.
That's great. That's great.
And that was before my father was involved in political life.
Yes, just.
and used to.
I don't know.
Just before, now you're teaching as well. You're a teacher and you're
yes.
involved in city politics.
Yes.
And so you have those influences reflecting in all of your work, I'm sure. And teaching art to students. We were talking about photography being an art earlier before, and how people, and television and lighting, and I thought that would be, if you could tell us a little bit about do you have a basic philosophy about letting people know that there is a difference, or that there's
Well,
or there's not an easy way to say it. I'm sure it's a very complex subject.
I don't think I want to.
Teaching
Well,
art or teaching photography.
Yeah, video is an art. It's of course MTV and all these different programs are very, very artistic, very expressive. I think everything is a tool, whether it's a still camera, a video camera, a chisel, or a paintbrush. It's just another tool, just as today's.
Or words.
Or words, and a pen, and a pen. Just as today, the mouse for the computer is just another tool. It's not a tool in my hand, but it's going to be a tool in someone who's young now, growing up.
Too often they'll be
out
up
of
there on the
school.
computer.
It's not quite a tool in mine either. I'm still getting used to that whole era. But and so it's all a way of us all being creative, and that's what I think we're trying to achieve at the gallery here too, is to let people know that it's not just television, and it's art on the way into the studio, and it's around us. It's all around us.
It's a means of expressing oneself. And You know,
Do you
subtle or
write
not so subtle.
other things besides?
Poetry?
Yes.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Have
on
you
my time.
published anything?
I never have.
Not
no.
yet. Not yet.
Not yet. One day, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But these particular pieces, I chose a limerick, the limerick form of a poem, because it lends itself to wit and sort of witticism and the pithiness, I think. And it's a quick, short, kind of easy but catchy form of a poem. To me, it draws the reader in. It plays on itself, and it plays with the reader, and that's what I was hoping to achieve as well, sort of playing on
Yes.
my father's
Exactly.
political career. Right.
Well, that's,
Last year I was in.
It's a good subject.
Right. See, yeah. It's given us much to play with.
Well, it certainly involves the whole family, that's for
Right.
sure. It's a
It
you're
has.
a public
It has.
figure, and it
Right.
becomes, and it's very involving
Yeah.
in every aspect.
And
Right.
of course, Jamie has put up with, throughout her young life of growing up, as I did, the play on Kelly, Belly, Jelly, Smelly. The kids go on and
The
on
belly,
and on. So
Right.
Jamie used it well.
Wonderful.
An artist needs to use their emotional and intellectual material well. That's all they need to do. That's what art is, really. And I think that it's used well.
Right. Well, we have another young artist on the phone. Actually, we've got a third artist. There are some pieces on this board right here that are done by a young woman named Sarah Press, and Sarah's a student at Columbia University, and she couldn't be here in the studio tonight, but she is on the telephone. We have her hanging on so that she can comment on three of the pieces that she's got hanging here in the studio tonight, which are just over my left shoulder. The first piece is called Buddhas for Lost Children, but first I want to say welcome, Sarah. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, we can hear you just fine. Thank you. And thanks for being on the phone with us. You're probably taking time away from your studies.
Oh, it's very interesting to hear this.
Well, we wanted to talk with you a little bit about your wonderful photographs that we're looking at here. And showing on the camera right now is the Buddhas for Lost Children taken in Kamakura, Japan.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what we're looking at here?
I was lucky enough to go to Japan with my grandfather a couple years ago. And one of the temples I went to, Kamakura, is sort of like a beautiful mountain and sort of a small place off. I guess it's a big tourist attraction because there's also a huge, huge, huge Buddha there. But this temple that I went to I walked onto the temple grounds and was instantly surrounded by fields and fields of tiny little Buddha statues all in rows like you see there. I guess, and the ones here in the picture mostly aren't decorated except for the three in the middle, but the rest of them had like Mickey Mouse bibs on them and all kinds of toys, and a lot of them were just dressed up like children or given things that children would like. I guess it was explained to me that it wasn't explained to me very clearly, but examples were given to me that, like, if you had an abortion, you would get one. Or if you were trying to have a child, you would, I guess you pay, like, a monthly amount and have one of these in your name, and then you come take care of it. It was just an amazing sight, like an ocean of, small Buddha men.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful image. And it's great getting the description from the person that photographed them too. It's there's another piece here called Notes on Mermaid Parade. Mermaid Parade 1. The Mermaid Parade photo. Excuse me. It's the photograph just below the Buddhas. And there's a pretty little girl sitting up on someone's head there. I didn't actually, until I read this description, you'll be describing it to us too, but she's got a great face. And can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Well, I guess the picture in this case pretty much speaks for itself. It's just, I was at a parade. I mean, I've often found that the audience at parades is just as interesting as the actual parade attraction, the people who are marching or whatever.
I agree with you. I think that's true.
People tend to feel really festive when there's a parade, and even if they don't consider themselves a member of the spectacle, they sort of put on, you know, their special clothes or whatever. And yeah, I mean, the audience, and in New York it seems that there's a very fine line between the audience and the attraction. In a lot of the cases of parades and things like that I've been to, it's sort of just a whole spectrum of how extremely you get dressed up, and everyone's just sort of pushing each other around and
Kind of
having a good
obvious
time.
in the Wigstock photo, isn't it? The Wigstock photo is kind of an example of what you just talked about. Well, this was it's an annual Labor Day event, and
Yes.
a parade or
You might call it a festival.
a festival. That's good. And it looks like these people are pretty festive.
Yeah.
Was that taken right outside, or it looks like a studio shot?
Yeah, both of these, actually, the white sky in both of these pictures was just, well, a stroke of luck in that they were both up very much higher than I was. Like, the girl obviously was sitting on someone's shoulders, but these people were on stilts, the people in the Wigstock photo, and they were sort of floating majestically above the crowd. And usually at events like that, it's really hard to get sort of good images of single people or, you know, a couple people or whatever, because you always see the crowd in the background. They sort of get lost in a whole mass of people.
With the lighting.
In both of these cases, I was lucky enough to find really amazing-looking people who were who had secluded themselves above the crowd.
True. Really looks like you were in a studio setting them up. That was definitely a great stroke of luck, but you did a wonderful job. Is this one of your first shows for a photography show or a group, an art show?
Yes, actually it is. I've had actually maybe 2 or 3 shows just here at Columbia, like student art shows, but this is my first sort of real full-fledged exhibit. I'm very happy.
Oh, we're very happy to have you showing here at Salem Access TV, too. You've lived in Salem, it says, for the past 9 years.
Yes.
And you're majoring in religion at Columbia University. How did you get involved with Sarah and with Jamie and Bill as far as doing the group show?
We met through Art Salem, actually.
Oh, good. Great.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Well, we're going to miss you at the opening, but you'll have people here to represent you, I understand.
Yes, my mother will be there, and she looks exactly like me, so
Okay.
she'll just pretend to be me.
Okay, well, if you want to just hang on the line for just another minute, and we'll come back and say, I just want to let everybody know that the show here at Salem Access TV at 285 Derby Street will be opening on September 26th. It's a Thursday, and the opening reception will be from 5 to 8. And we're inviting all the viewers to come to the studio and meet the artists and meet Sarah's mom. She'll be here on Sarah's behalf, so that you can get a view of these photographs and these figures, and up close and talk to people, directly talk to the artists and find out a little bit about them, and see the Salem Access TV studios. And anytime the studios are open, the gallery is open, people are welcome to come in and observe the artwork and find out a little bit more about Salem Access Television. And there's another photo right behind me that, well, maybe we should probably not keep Sarah on the line any longer since she's calling from New York. And Sarah, we want to thank you for taking the time from your studies to join us by phone.
It was a pleasure.
And to talk about your photos. And it's certainly a pleasure to have you work. We thank you very much. And we'll see you after you get all your straight A's.
More or less. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye, Sarah.
Bye-bye. And we have another work right behind me over my left shoulder here of Bill's that we haven't had a chance to say anything about yet. That's you had mentioned to me earlier that you had natural lighting on this one. This is, do we have a title? Do you?
Well, actually, I don't have titles for a lot of the photojournalistic shots. It's just 3
I
cowboys.
probably should have realized that when I didn't see any really written on the bottom of your work, but that's okay. I don't think that's a necessary thing, is it?
No, I just say where it is, and that is Utah. That's where Jamie was born. About that time, as a matter of fact, just about that time. That was a few years ago. But it's one of my favorites from Utah. I followed cattle auctions for about 3 or 4 weeks. I would go back every day. And then I stopped going back, photographing the whole time. And I never quite understood who was bidding. I never could catch anyone. I couldn't catch them wiggling anything. And finally, on my contact sheets, I realized how they were bidding, and some people just flick a pencil or whatever, but you see that finger in the lower right-hand corner?
Yeah, right.
The guy was bid, it was his thumb.
This is a bid.
He was like this, yes, and his thumb was outstretched.
Oh, I see,
And
right.
it looked as though he was talking to his hand, but he was just,
so subtle.
some of these individuals were the larger farmers, and they didn't want any of the other farmers they don't want one another to know who's doing the bidding on that, whatever it was.
I
Big
see.
animals, whatever they were. Of course, I was there with a tweed sport jacket and desert boots.
You didn't fit into that picture.
And I fit right in. I just slipped right in there. After a while, they ignored me. At first, they were probably bothered by my presence. But after about the second week, they just entirely ignored me, and that's when I really started getting good photographs.
The good photos, when they when people aren't
Yeah,
conscious of what you're doing.
They just totally ignored that guy. And it worked quite well.
I think this is a great photo. When
thank you.
I wondered, I didn't want to ask you before because I wanted to just talk about it now, but exactly where you got that, because it definitely looks like
and years ago,
Texas
it was hard to push
someplace.
film, but that film was pushed to the extreme, and I was pleased with it.
How do you mean that? What does that mean?
The film was rated, that was Tri-X film, and it's rated at, the sensitivity to light was 400 ASA, it's called ISO now. It was American standard of how sensitive light is anyway, film is to light. And that was a fairly fast film, 400 speed, but I had to push that to 1200 speed. And at that time, that was 1971, the chemicals and were nowhere near as good as they are today, and I was just pleased with the results because it was so dark in there. There was only one 60-watt bulb over these guys, and another 60-watt bulb down over the cows and the pigs.
So this is definitely a factor. I don't know a lot about photography as far as actually printing the photos, but so some of the photographs that we see from, say, Ansel Adams he photographed in the early 1900s. That are so crisp and clear were pretty unique for him to actually achieve because the chemicals weren't so great and or the film, all of those factors.
Exactly, all of the above, the cameras, the film, the ease of the cameras. Today, you have cameras that are fully automatic and great. They're just beautiful, and I love them. They're so much faster and so much easier. I like technology. I just don't think going back to the difficulties of the daguerreotype.
Oh, you remember the hood,
exactly.
hood over the head.
And the gunpowder.
Everything is today's film is so superb, and the chemicals are just high energy. So when Ansel Adams worked, and when Stieglitz and Steichen worked, it was tough. It was a job. It was difficult getting that one shot, and they got them.
Stieglitz is one of my favorites too. So we just have another minute or so left. As far as inspiring someone to pick up a camera and take some photographs or to be creative, do either one of you have any words of inspiration or advice that you'd like to pass on? Other than what we just said, all of it should be an inspiring scene.
Right. Reach for the folder.
Reach for the folder. That's it. That's good. I like that. Well, we just have another few minutes. I just want to let everybody know one more time we are watching What's in the Gallery Hall, and this edition is called Points of View. And it's the next showing at Salem Access TV on September 26th, and we'll be looking at life, politics, and satire through the works of Jamie Kelly, Bill Kelly, and Sarah Press. And thank you for watching What's in the Gallery Hall. There we go. That was in half an hour. We did it.
Wow.
I think I probably went over a minute.